Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of 48 Shades of Football, Korea's premier English language football podcast about the K-League. I'm joined as ever by erstwhile host Mark.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, good evening. Those gloves are worrying me. I think you're about to strangle me or something.
I'm doing a Giorgio Samaras. I'm wearing gloves during the game.
We are sitting inside, but he's just suddenly got out this pair of gloves and put them on and looking at me with a menacing glint in his eye. I
think I'm probably still cold from the ACL game, which was on Tuesday night, but I'm actually still freezing from that game. It was one of the coldest I've ever been.
Is that what tonight's intro was about?
So tonight's intro was obviously Let It Snow, which...
Unless I change it to...
Unless you change it to something by Whitesnake.
Let it go.
Let it go. But yeah, basically, it was obviously about the... So I think I kind of laughed at the weekend when I was watching the under-23 final, and I laughed at how can you still play a game in such ridiculous snowy conditions and absolutely blah 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 blah, and it kind of made the under-23 tournament final a bit of a farce. And then fast forward a couple of days and we go down to the Big Bird and it's like covered in snow, and we have Suwon versus Thanh Hoa in like a ridiculous snowstorm.
But at least they had a pink ball, right?
They had a pink ball, yes, they did indeed, and at least none of those teams wore white, which I think we'll get on to, I guess, when we talk to that about that in a little bit, yeah. But yeah,
so where do you want to start then? Obviously, we've got the under-23 third place playoff and final to chat about.
Yep.
2 Korean national team friendlies.
Yep.
The Suwon's ACL playoff.
Mm-hmm. We're going to talk a little bit about the report card project that we've been working on. We'll talk some transfers, I guess, or some non-transfers again, I believe, and then winners and losers.
Yep.
Sweet, sounds good. Well, I guess. You want to start with the third and fourth playoff, because I gave my predictions.
Yeah.
I said I had seen Korea play and not Qatar, so Qatar would win, and I had seen Uzbekistan play and not Vietnam, so Uzbekistan would win. And you just kind of scoffed and said, "Very professional." How did those predictions come out?
Even a stop clock is right twice a day.
So basically, yeah, Qatar beat Korea 1-0.
Although that game would actually probably finish by the time we finish recording.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But I didn't know that. I wasn't watching it on my phone. I promise and swear. But yeah, so Korea finished 4th in that tournament then, right?
Yeah, and got a little bit of heat for it.
Did they get any candy thrown at them at the airport?
Didn't go that far, but the Korean message boards were a bit heated, shall we say, with lack of effort in the 4th place playoff. I think if they'd finished 3rd, it was beneficial to them somehow.
Okay.
Finishing 4th didn't. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not really too sure what that tournament really is, because it seemed to be, if I'm right in saying this, it seemed to be like a kind of Olympic qualifier 2 years ago or something, right? Or even last year, I feel, or something. I don't even know where it was. So I'm not really sure how they kind of play or what the purpose of that tournament is. But yeah. But so Korea did finish 4th,
yep.
Better than Japan,
yep.
Who had the highest average age, I think, or something like that, right?
And better than China, who had home field advantage.
Yes. So the final was Uzbekistan versus Vietnam.
Yep.
Did you watch it?
I did not.
Ah, okay. So this will be a really short conversation then.
Was it on TV?
It was on JTBC. Yes.
Okay.
Amazingly, JTBC showed that, but have since pulled all K-League games. But anyway, I've been tweeting about that, but no reply.
Okay.
But I watched the extra time.
Okay.
Well, actually, I watched the second half because so the game kicked off at I want to say it was 4. Yeah, 4 o'clock. So the first half kicked off at 4 p.m. Korean time, and the second half kicked off at obviously 6 p.m. Korean time, because there was a 1 hour half-time break
Snow delay.
Snow delay. Now, what was really funny was it was really funny, right? Because the way they were doing it was they were obviously completely unprepared to clear the snow, right? So they were starting at one end, clearing the snow, and as they were going along, as they were reaching the halfway line, the snow was just building up behind them. So when they got to the goal, they just went back and started again, and nobody had the common sense to go and get a tractor. So you had these like 5 guys out with like shovels trying to clear the snow. So it took a full hour. Thankfully, during that hour, some bright spark at the Uzbekistani Football Association decided that playing in white shirts hadn't helped them in the first half, and so they came out in their away shirts, which I think are blue.
What was the score at half time?
1 each.
Okay.
Uzbekistan took the lead after 7 minutes.
He ghosted in at the far post.
You basically, it was like Casper scored, right? It was ridiculous. And then Vietnam equalised right on half time with, I'm not going to, no offence, man, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but it's a guy who was a top goal scorer, I think, in the end. The guy who scored the 2 goals, or a couple of goals against Qatar, I think. So, it goes in half time, as I said, in each second half. You can see Uzbekistan really were the better team, to be honest. Vietnam were hanging on, but they were literally hanging on.
They'd also played 2 periods of extra time together, right? So they played an extra hour of football.
Yeah. So then it got to extra time, first half, no goals, second half, all the way to penalties. I just got up to go and get ready for the penalties, or as I call it, go and get a beer.
Yeah.
And as I was getting a beer from the fridge, my wife went, "Oh, it's a goal." And I said, "Who scored?" She went, "I don't know." I was like, How can you not tell who scored? So I came back in, and unfortunately it was Uzbekistan. Pretty much with a minute left. But it'd been coming, to be honest. I think Vietnam were playing for the penalties. So hearts broken, lots of tears in the crowd. There was like a couple of thousand Vietnamese passionately cheering, and there were maybe a couple of Uzbekistan guys who were not so passionately cheering.
So there's been a bit of differing opinions on Twitter about Vietnam's run to the final.
One or two.
Some are saying it's good for the region. Some are saying it's a triumph for negative football. What's your take?
They almost greased it, right? And that's my take.
So you're looking unfavourably.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as a triumph for negative football. Because let's be perfectly honest, Greece are never going to repeat anything other than winning it in their own ground by actually not winning a game, right? I think if Vietnam had won it on penalties, they would have actually won the tournament, having won only one game, or won 90 minutes.
It's also the kind of thing that traditional Italy would do.
Yeah. It's a way of playing, but some of the stuff that I've seen has said that the coach, who's Korean, has kind of actually stifled their creativity, kind of stifled their sort of their attacking play. I'm not sure if I would agree with that as much, but yeah, I think if you'd won the tournament by only winning one game, I don't think it kind of augurs well for Vietnam's hope in an actual full World Cup.
But in this kind of situation, do you think you should be more pragmatic? Because we see this in the Premier League as well, right? Some team like Barnsley or Swindon gets promoted playing free-flowing Brazilian-type football, and then everyone's saying, well, do they do that in the Premier League, get hammered 5-1 or 5-2 every week, or do they sort of try and stem the flow, defend heavily, and nick something on the counter and try and for survival?
Well, West Brom got relegated, right? So
and Stoke look like they're well on the way.
I mean, was it Tony Mowbray took West Brom up to the Premiership playing free-flowing football, and they got hammered every single game, right? Once they got there. I don't know. I mean, I think you've got to play football for the situation and for the occasion, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Greece when they won the Euros, and I think Uzbekistan were the better footballing team.
So you think,
I mean, the old football romantic in me wanted Vietnam to win, but in the football purist in me wanted Uzbekistan to win.
therefore, having a nice run to the final creates some buzz,
Yeah,
but also preserves the sanctity of football, shall we say?
pretty much. Yeah, you summed it up perfectly.
Okay. On the same day, Korea played Moldova.
Yeah,
Did you watch that?
I didn't.
I kind of did.
I don't know why I didn't either. I think I was probably footballed out. Or I don't know.
It was a 10 p.m. kickoff,
Yeah,
and I struggled to stay awake, to be honest. It was not a very good match. Korea did win 1-0 with a late-ish goal.
who scored?
The Wookiee.
The rookie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't see any of it. I couldn't comment on it. But I know there's been Wookiee Watch has been kind of getting tweeted quite a bit.
The Korean commentators, well, I guess it was Lee Young-pyo, his kind of take on the match was that Moldova, despite being ranked 160 something in the world, are a vastly underrated team.
Yeah,
And what he said is they're quite solid defensively in midfield. They don't have a decent striker to bang goals in, which is why they do so poorly.
yeah. I mean, Korea don't seem to really do that well against those kind of teams, right? I mean, I'm assuming they've chosen Moldova, Jamaica, as kind of like in preparation, obviously, for their World Cup group.
Which is Germany, Sweden, and Mexico.
Yeah. But you kind of look at it and think, I don't know. I mean, they don't seem.
I think these three friendlies are kind of slightly a nod to who's in their group, but also who's available at this time of year.
Yeah.
So I guess if they were looking for a Mexico substitute, they'd probably have chosen Costa Rica or someone like that over Jamaica.
Yeah.
Jamaica were available. And also Moldova, I don't think are a particularly good substitute for either Germany or Sweden. But
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I guess they're available.
Okay.
But yeah.
So not a good game then?
No, and then Tuesday night or Tuesday evening, while you were down at Suwon, I was watching the Jamaica game on the TV.
Okay.
That finished 2-2. Jamaica took the lead within the first 5 minutes. The Wookiee scored 2, sort of midway through the 55 minutes and maybe 60 something minutes, and then late on, Jamaica got the equaliser. The defence, 2 centre backs, they just kind of they weren't marking any man. They weren't in the position. Just opened up, and the guy had so much space to pick his spot and shoot. Again, it was a very poor match. I don't think anyone did their hopes of getting to Russia any good at all.
Oh, maybe the rookie.
But even him, he scored 2 goals, which were basically carbon copies of each other. It was like a high cross wafted in, and he out-jumped the defence and got it in. But before that, he'd been snapping at shots, so he had good chances to get a shot on target, and he'd put them either wide or high. And
yeah, he's not going to get that header off when he's playing against Germany, is he?
Right.
Or against Sweden, to be honest.
Or against Mexico.
Or against Mexico, yeah, probably, right? But, I mean, definitely not against Germany or Sweden, right? I mean, the thing is that a couple of years ago, we went to see Korea versus Jamaica, and Jamaica was so poor that Hwang Hee-jo scored. Was it a big change in Jamaica? Were Jamaica so much better, or are Korea under Shin just woeful, like we all think?
Well, I guess this is a kind of a Korean B-side to begin with, who are all in pre-season. So I don't know what the situation with Jamaica is, but yes, you can make excuses for Korea's poor performance.
Okay.
But yeah, there was no one there that sort of stood out and said, this guy needs to be on the plane to Russia.
Okay. And at the end of the day, as you said, it's a B team, right? So you're going to see, do you know what I mean, like Key, Son, all the European-based players, basically. Anyway, so yeah, it's probably just a chance to get guys. I'll run out and see if anyone can stick a place, but probably looking unlikely. Although the rookie will be on the plane.
I mean, I guess half of them are going to make it, but
yeah.
But
whether they start very many games.
No one really staked a claim. So.
Okay. So as you said, that was on Tuesday. You were watching that. I was down in a freezing cold Big Bird roofless stadium.
Enjoying a frosty beer.
It got so cold that my beer froze. And that's not a joke. Like, you saw the photograph. Like, it was. So basically, in the morning it was a balmy -1.
Yeah.
Never saw any inclination that it was going to start snowing.
There's no forecast of snow that day as far as I know.
So it started snowing in Seoul about 4 o'clock. At which point the Phantom was already on the subway on his way down, and I was packing up my stuff to get the bus. So I kind of reckoned it was going to be a flurry, but it started getting really heavy around 4:30ish. But yeah, got down to the stadium. You know, I'm very much a firm believer that when it snows, it's not cold. Because if it was cold, it wouldn't be able to snow.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, right? Yeah, that's not true anymore. So it was bitterly frozen. So we got there, sat in the currently being renovated Big Bird Cafe, so there was only half the tables. Had a couple of beers, went in, massive bag search. So thank you all those Bluewings fans who threw bottles at the Seoul player.
You should have borrowed my bandolier.
Yeah, well that's good. I'm going to go and buy one if I can find one. We did manage to get in the soju though, because it was in smaller bottles, so we just put them in our pockets. Happy to see everyone I was. So got in, like half the seats were cordoned off. So like in the main stand, not the main stand, in the stand kind of like to the right of where the Seoul fans would go. So to the right of the away end. The top tier was closed, and most of the bottom tier was cordoned off because there was snow like and ice all over the seats. So we just sat in the back row and basically didn't really watch the game that much, to be perfectly honest. Spent most of the time drinking. So had a few beers, some soju. Game itself, first half was pretty poor, but the conditions were terrible. So you had to kind of excuse everyone for that. But it did go in. Suwon did go in 2-0 at half time. The first goal was world class. So Im Sang-hyuk making his debut, slid, and I mean like slid on the snow to win the ball, jumped up and whipped in this cross with the outside of his foot that landed literally right at Waganino's toe. And he didn't even have to break step or anything, and he volleyed it right in the back of the net. That was 1-0. Second goal was a brilliant ball put through by Boxy himself, by Daehan.
Yeah.
And Im Sang-hyuk, I think it was, scored the second.
Yeah.
Made it 2-0. We're at half time. Interestingly,
it's like 2 in a minute, right?
Yeah. It was like 45 and 40. It was like 44 and 45. Yeah. So going at half time 2-0, they start clearing the snow, and then realise that why are we bothering clearing the whole pitch? They just clear the end that we want to play football at. Mm-hmm. So the guy was then summoned to move his tractor and his snowblower up to the other end. So they kind of left some snow and ice in the box of, like in the Suwon box. But in the Vietnamese box, it was all nice and clean and cleared, which probably made a big difference second half. Third goal was Waganino. Then fourth goal was Kije.
Yep.
And then the fifth goal was the big man himself. Big Daehan popping up, making it 5-0.
How was it? A simple goal, or was it?
I'm not going to say it was a thunderbolt or it was a rocket. It was more like a sclaffed shot. Like the keeper was woeful, and I'm talking about the worst goalkeeper ever. Like so Daehan's shot went right through his body. It was straight at him. He kind of.
Was it the love child of Yoo-hyun and Kim Yong-dae?
Yeah. He kind of celebrated, but at the same time realised it was pretty embarrassing, so he just put his hands up. I
was going to ask you that, like, how did he celebrate? Did he kiss the badge?
He didn't, but he did before the game started, when he was taking the kick-off in the centre circle. He did applaud his new beloved fans as they were chanting Daehan, Daehan, Daehan. He got a massive cheer chant. When he scored the goal, it was like really loud. He just kept singing Daehan, 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 Daehan. He didn't kiss anything. He just put his hands up. But I think that was more about. I want to say more the character of the man. But I think he realised it was a fortuitous goal. But his ball through for the second was brilliant. His link-up play was really good. His hold-up play was good. His first touch was good.
So overall worth $1 million a year?
If him and Waganino can click before Adriano and Thiago, then yes, is what I'm going to say. It was interesting to watch the two of them on more than one occasion in the first half. They were kind of almost falling over each other because they're both number 10s, right?
Yeah.
So they're both that kind of. Dehan's so used to being the main man everywhere, and Waganino was the main man in Bucheon.
Yeah.
So you could see that they were both going not for the same ball, but going for the same space.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a bit of time for them to realise who the top dog is and who should be at the back and who should be at the front of that little area, right? But to be honest, I've never really been that big a fan of Im Sang-hyuk, but it was only Vietnamese, a team that makes a second for whatever, but he tore them apart, right? And I mean, really tore them apart.
It's interesting you're saying that it's important to see whether Dayan and Waganino click more quickly than Adriano and Thiago rather than Evandro and the player that's all haven't signed yet.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sheridan.
I mean, looking at it was snowy conditions. It was a poor team that they were playing against. Shocking goalkeeping. But, yeah, they look like a team that are going to score goals this season. I think it could be a long season for a Seoul fan. But, that being said, it's still Saw as the manager, and there's still Saw time, right? They're still capable of throwing away victories in the last minute. Very interesting, Papa somebody, the Vietnamese striker, pulled one back in the last minute, which was probably one of the best goals of the game, actually.
Okay.
It was a great kind of low strike. Should have been saved, but it was a good save. It was a good goal. So finished 5-1. Suwon are now obviously through. Everyone now has their groups finalised. But before we get to that, yes?
I was going to say that last week there were quite a few surprises, but this year everything went according to form.
This week, I mean, it doesn't help. It doesn't help when you basically. It doesn't help when you purposely shit all over your opposition in terms of visas, right? I mean, that they can't actually arrive in time to practice or anything, right? So, I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Some underhand stuff from the Chinese there to make sure that Ceres Negro had absolutely zero opportunity, as little opportunity to progress as possible, right? But we're not going to go into that.
We just have.
So all the groups are now finalised.
Yeah.
Should we go through them?
No.
Okay, let's go really quickly, right?
Okay.
So John Book now know that they have Kitchi, Tianjin and Kashiwa Reysol, with their first game being played at home to Kashiwa on February 13th.
So they should win that group.
They'll win that group. Can't see them. They'll get out of the group, let's put it that way.
Okay.
They are not going to not qualify.
Okay.
That was a treble negative, right? Ulsan found out their group, so Kawasaki, Melbourne and Shanghai SIPG.
They won't qualify from that group.
Ulsan's first game is away to... No, Ulsan's first game is... I'm trying to figure this one out, actually. Is at home. First game at home is to Kawasaki on the 20th of February.
Okay.
But they're not going to get out of that group. Kawasaki and Shanghai, I reckon, will be probably Shanghai 1, Kawasaki 2. Jeju have got Guangzhou, Evergrande, Cerezo, Osaka, and Buriram United.
They could get out of that group.
They could, but they won't. Their first game is at home on the 14th of February to Cerezo. It depends if they get a good start.
Yeah, but basically the games against Osaka are going to be important. Right?
Yeah, because Evergrande have just spent 50 million on some ex-Man United player, right, or something?
They signed someone from Tianjin, I saw. Or was that a different Guangzhou?
Oh, maybe it was them, yeah, but like something like 50 million or 40 million or something like that, right? Again, yeah. They have not been linked with an £8 million bid for Rangers FC's Alfredo Morelos, just so you know. That's all just crap from the Scottish press to make Rangers look good. And then finally, Suwon Bluewings got their group. Sydney FC, Shanghai Shenhua and Kashima Antlers.
Again, it's another kind of difficult one to predict.
Yeah, it's going to take a huge effort, I think. The first game is away to Sydney, and then the first home game is at home to Kashima on February 21st. So I guess, hopefully it'll be warmer and I'll be there again. But because it's Kashima, I'll probably be there with Katna Sake. Potentially in an end that's not got a cover and no Suwon fans in it.
Okay, so that's the ACL wrapped up.
Well, imagine if Stoke were in that, right, we'd still be talking in 50 minutes' time, right?
But they're not, so we
But
won't.
they're not. But yeah, I mean, just quickly before we do wrap it up, as we said, Jumbo should get through. Ulsan probably won't. Jeju will need to beat Sarazo to get through. Could be a tough one. Suwon Bluewings will need to be at their best to get anything out of that group. So we could be looking at Jeonbuk being the only Korean team after the group. My money's going to be on Jeonbuk and maybe Jeju. Okay. So you mentioned that obviously we talked there that Stowe are not in the ACL this year after having a poor end, middle and beginning of 2017. What we did do was we decided to do report cards.
Yep.
Do you want to take us through what we've done so the people who are listening can then go on the blog and read?
So I looked at Seoul's performance against each of the other 11 teams. So some of the teams obviously played 4 times, some of them they played 3 times, and I looked at the number of points they got off each team, and based on that, I gave them a grade for their performance against that team.
Okay.
Gave them a grade for their performance in last year's ACL, last year's FA Cup, an overall grade, and then a few stats about how they compare to other teams in terms of time for scoring the first goal, number of clean sheets, etc., etc.
So the first report card is up. It's
Yep.
for FC Seoul. We also have, so the plan is to do the report cards for every team in the K-League.
So you're saying it has to happen now?
The plan. It's all about the plan, boss.
If you are listening and do fancy putting together a report card for your team, we will of course send you the template with the stats pre-prepared.
Yep.
So all you need to do is fill in the comments.
And the grades.
Yep.
And if you happen to be a fan of Daegu, Sangju, Asan, or Anyang, then definitely please let us know if you want to do it, because we don't know anyone. And that means that we have to go back and look at it, right?
But looking at my grades, did you disagree with anything?
Probably not, actually, no. I think that was a poor season, and there were certain areas that they did really badly in. I agreed with your summation of Daegu. I think they were woeful against Daegu, right?
2 points out of a possible 9.
Yeah, which probably cost them quite a lot when you consider that. Because doing these report cards, that you see, you get to compare how every team performed against every other team.
Right.
So it kind of lets you see exactly where points were lost and won.
I've no idea what actually happened, but say Suwon got 9 points off Taegeuk, whereas Seoul got 2.
Yeah.
That's the ACL gone just there. Although presumably, given that there was only a 3-point difference overall, look, Seoul got more points off Suwon. So
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it shows you that it's not just the super match or the games against Jeonbuk and Ulsan that kind of dictate a season, right? It's also like turning up against Gangwon, which Seoul didn't really do either, right?
Yeah, I think they got 2 wins, 2 losses.
Yeah,
so
which is not great. Okay, so if anyone would like to contribute to those report cards, then please just send us an email to send an email to 48shadesoffootball@gmail.com.
Or you can direct message us on Twitter. Probably the easiest way.
Yep, at K-League_podcast. Or you can just comment on our blog as well.
Or send a pigeon.
We'll send a pigeon, because I might get there by the time Lee Chung-yong gets another game of football under his belt.
So I guess there's a reason you're mentioning that. I saw on Twitter over the weekend that he was going to head back to Bolton.
So the rumour in the news was that Lee Chung-yong was heading to Bolton on a 6-month loan.
Yep.
That fell through in the wee hours of the morning, or the wee hours of the night, so to speak.
But based on like who made it fall through? Was it Palace didn't want to release him, Bolton didn't want to sign him, or he didn't want to go?
I don't actually know how or why it fell through, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just know that it's been announced by Palace that it's unlikely that he'll be joining them.
I assume the deadline is at midnight on 31st, is it?
It was, yeah, so it should be
7 minutes left.
7 minutes left.
Could happen.
It could still happen, but from what I can gather, it's definitely not.
Also, Key was rumoured to be going from Swansea to West Ham.
Yeah, Key has decided to stay at Swansea.
Because they've just beaten Liverpool and Arsenal in a week.
There's a whole article on Twitter where Key explains why he stayed, and he says that they're progressing so much under Carvalho,
ex-Wednesday manager.
Yeah. So
he's one of only 5, maybe 6 managers to win his first 2 games against Wenger.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
After Wednesday beat them in the League Cup a couple of years ago.
But yeah, I mean, so I guess the reason for bringing this up is because there are obviously clubs out there in Korea who would jump at the chance of bringing Lee Chung-yong, bringing the Chungi back, right?
I can only assume that FC Seoul have come in and gazumped Bolton and offered a huge sum of money for him to come back to Seoul. And I assume that's going to be announced within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, who knows, but doubtful.
Given there's a rumour that Osmar's on his way out.
Oh, really? Is there?
Have you not seen that?
I haven't seen that. There's always rumours that Osmar's on his way out.
So it was announced maybe a month or so ago that he'd signed a new contract with Seoul.
Yeah.
But there's also people are saying that. So some of the Korean fans are saying that was never announced officially by the club. It was just announced by third parties. So no one's sure if it's really true. And obviously he's in Spain at the training camp, but he's not played in any of these friendlies that they keep losing.
Okay.
So they're saying that he's in the market, should we say?
So Osmar goes. Korean Sheridan comes in at defence.
Also, well, there's this
Kova stays.
This Australian guy that's just apparently signed from Central Coast to an unnamed K-League side.
Yeah, this is a weird one, right?
Yeah.
Because even though he's officially been confirmed, right, from Central Coast Manors, have confirmed that he's signed with an unnamed Korean team. Does that mean that they don't know who it is?
Maybe it's a team like Seoul which has to. Oh no, because he'd be the Asian quota anyway, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't really understand why he's been confirmed from CCM, but they still haven't named the club. The rumour is that it was supposed to be Incheon United.
Okay. They do have a record of taking Australians, right?
Yeah, but then they already have one, right? But yeah, I mean, that doesn't say you can't have 2. But yeah, so I'm a little bit unsure of what's happening there. But it would seem that he has signed a deal and he is coming to Korea, but just nobody knows what team that actually is yet.
Just while we're sort of hovering around FC Seoul, season tickets went on sale on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fans I've seen are saying they're not planning to get one this year because they don't like the way the club's going, selling their best players, not replacing them, don't like the manager, don't like the board.
Okay. What's your take on that? Back the team, sack the board?
I think if I was back in the UK being charged like $1,000 for a season ticket, I would quite understand that. But
yeah,
being in Korea where the season ticket's like 150,000, it's like anyway I'm going to go to more than 10 games over the course of the season. So economic pragmatism wins out.
Yeah, I mean, this is my thing. You know, it's like the Songnam ones have been on sale. I haven't got mine yet. I haven't bought it yet. But I'm going to buy one like in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of days probably. And it's like, part of me thinks, because like one game last year I went with the Phantom back into SkySock, and the view in SkySock is amazing, and there's no bag search, and you can drink comfortably, and there's not like some female security guard who either just try to hit on me or just try to like get me deported. I can't quite work out which one it is. And it's like that doesn't happen in SkySock. So the Phantom said, why don't you get a season ticket for SkySock? And I was like, well, it's only 90,000 that you get one for the temporary stand, right? At 9,000 a ticket, I'm going to go to 10 games in the temporary stand anyway. So I may as well get one for the temporary stand, do the 10 games, and then just go to Sky Sock for the other games, right?
Yeah.
So I get your argument there. I don't see the point in saying I'm not going to buy a season ticket. You may as well just get one because they're pennies over here, right? And I don't really think it hits the club. I don't think actually, like back home, if you boycotted season tickets, it would really hit the club because they need all that money up front.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's how they run their clubs. It's basically based on like the upfront season tickets. But I think in Korea, like, there's the amount of a season ticket is so minimal, and the crowds are so minimal anyway that I don't really think clubs look at it and say, "Oh, we're going to run our business based on season ticket money." I think it's like, well, they make it off of the beer, they make it off of the food, they make it off of things that are around the stadium on match day. I don't think season ticket sales are quite as important here as they are back home, but because of the amount of the monies that we're talking about.
I think the other thing is the club sort of foreseeing this to some degree, and one of their marketing like special packages for this year is people who've bought a season ticket 3 years in a row or 5 years in a row get a little something extra.
Yeah, well, we have the same thing at Songnam, like, so I've got 3 in a row now, so I'll get some extra, like probably either to come and clean my apartment once a week.
Did you see Taegeuk's season ticket package?
I didn't know.
They've because it's going to be the last year at the Taegeuk World Cup Stadium, right? So they've introduced this kind of stadium love package or something, where they give you like a cardboard cutout model of the stadium and various other accoutrements, and it's a limited sale of 500. And I was wondering, do they really have 500 season tickets?
I would have thought so.
I mean, maybe they will with this kind of special package, but they must know. Well, obviously they know how many season ticket holders they had last year, so they must be expecting to be able to sell 500. Yeah,
I think Songnam have made the same sort of thing. So last year we had the Oxford Lego players, and obviously there was like one in each of them plus the manager, right? And I think they ended up being maybe about 20. But I think
none of them are still there.
Yeah, but I think this year what they've done is they've made Lego season ticket holders. So they've got about 5 or 6 of them to sell this week.
Okay. Right, it's almost time to finish. Have you got a winner and loser for this week?
I have indeed.
Yeah.
Winner for this week is obviously going to be attacking football.
Okay.
As that is what Suwon played on Tuesday night, and is what Uzbekistan played in the Under-23 World Cup final. So in both those games, in terrible conditions, the team that played the attacking free-flowing, or tried to play the attacking football, won. And I think both teams, particularly in the Under-23 final, they could have just said, let's go for penalties, because it's horrendous conditions. But Uzbekistan tried to play for the full game, and I think that's a testament to them. So so the winner was attacking football, because attacking teams won.
I think for me the winner has to be Suwon. They've signed a couple of players in the closed season. All three of their main ones scored in that game. Especially for the strikers, it's always important to get that first confidence-building goal. They've all got that now. Yeah. So, unfortunately, I fear Suwon are going to kick on and do something good this season. Yeah, I think they finished second. I think second, maybe win the cup. Maybe I don't think they will win the league. I think the league is 100% John Books. Okay. Loser of the week? My left toe. Did you leave in Suwon? It's still there, yeah. Losers are actually all joking apart. Losers also involve Suwon. It's the fan day, the match day experience. That the fan experience has lost quite a bit. If they're going to have these bag searches, and if they're going to decant your beers, a huge part of going to the Big Bird was getting your beers in and having a huge part of K-League in general. Has been able to get in with beers and whatever. And I think if Suwon do kick on, and you start getting huge queues for beers, and they're decanting really slowly every beer, it's going to kind of take away a little bit of that match day experience. So hopefully they'll see sense, and the bag searches will get a little bit less strict as the season progresses. For my loser of the week, I'm also going to pick Suwon. What was the crowd on Tuesday?
Just under 5,000.
I know the opposition wasn't attractive and the weather was atrocious, but for the self-proclaimed sort of best fans in Korea, I think it was still hugely disappointing to see that.
I would disagree with you completely. And the fact that the Suwon end was actually full. It was the other parts of the stadium that were empty. Actually, so I get your point, but the fact that the ultras.
So what you're saying is they've got a core support of about 4,000,
Yep.
and all the fair weather fans are basically exactly that.
Yeah. So the fair weather fans never came because of the weather, but the ultras did pack their end. Not all ultras were there, obviously. Unfortunately, some of them were at home with a little thermometer in their mouth, drinking a hot lemsip, and a little scarf on. Scotty, eh?
The thermometer doesn't necessarily need to go in your mouth.
Oh, fair play. The poor guy was sick. I was going to try and catch up with him and have a beer.